Sergeant Kai Araz surveyed the human outpost from his perch atop a jagged rock formation. Their flimsy metal structures huddled together like frightened hatchlings. Smoke curled from chimneys, a weak, pathetic attempt at mimicking the fiery might of his homeworld, Xar'Thalian. Kai Araz, his obsidian carapace gleaming in the harsh alien sunlight, snorted with derision. "These are the creatures the scouting reports deemed a threat," he rumbled to Lieutenant Xilo, who stood beside him, his bioluminescent markings pulsing with contained aggression. Xilo, his 6 insectoid limbs clicking together, responded, "Their rudimentary technology is laughable. Their weapons are primitive, their minds even more so." Xar'Thalian warriors, bred for relentless conquest, viewed weakness with utter contempt. The humans, barely taller than Kai Araz's knee, with their soft, fleshy bodies, were an insult to the very concept of war. Following orders from Xar'Thalian Prime, their mission was simple: subdue the outpost, collect a few specimens for study, and leave a lasting mark on the weaklings. A display of dominance to discourage future aggression. Kai Araz raised his clawed hand, and the Xar'Thalian warriors hidden amongst the rocks surged forward, a wave of obsidian blades and pulsating bioweapons. The humans, oblivious to the impending doom, went about their day. Children chased each other, oblivious to the monstrous shadows creeping towards their playground. The attack was swift and brutal. The flimsy metal walls of the human structures crumpled under the Xar'Thalian onslaught. Their primitive weapons, a pitiful spray of hot metal, bounced harmlessly off Xar'Thalian armor. Screams, sharp and high-pitched, filled the air, a foreign and distasteful sound to Xar'Thalian ears. Within minutes, the outpost was in ruins. The remaining humans, their faces etched with terror, were rounded up like frightened cattle. Kai Araz observed them with detached amusement. These were the apex predators of their world. Pathetic. Suddenly, a flicker of movement in the corner of his eye. A human, a young male, no older than a Xar'Thalian hatchling, stood defiantly, a crude metal tube clutched in his hand. He pointed it at Kai Araz, his voice trembling but his eyes blazing with a fire that surprised the Xar'Thalian warrior. "Get off our planet," the young human spat, his voice laced with a desperate defiance. Kai Araz let out a deep, guttural laugh. Bold words from a dying creature, he raised a clawed hand, ready to crush the defiant insect. Before he could react, a blinding flash erupted from the human's weapon. A deafening roar filled the air, and a searing pain lanced through Kai Araz's arm. He stumbled back, his carapace smoking at the point of impact. Rage, a primal and unfamiliar emotion, flooded his being. He had underestimated these weaklings. The other Xar'Thalian warriors, momentarily stunned, reacted swiftly. Biobeams lanced through the air, disintegrating the young human. His defiance, a fleeting spark in the face of overwhelming might, was extinguished. Kai Araz, ignoring the throbbing pain in his arm, glared at the remaining humans. Their defiance had cost them dearly. He would make them pay. But before he could order the final purge, a new sound filled the air. A low hum, growing steadily louder, vibrated through the ground. The sky, once clear, began to cloud over with churning darkness. Xilo, his bioluminescent markings flashing red with alarm, pointed towards the horizon. "Look," he rasped. A colossal shape, dwarfing everything Kai Araz had ever seen, emerged from the clouds. It was a ship, but unlike anything the Xar'Thalians had ever encountered. A chilling certainty settled in Kai Araz's gut. These were not the weak, primitive creatures they had thought. These were enemies unlike anything Xar'Thalian had ever faced. The humans, however, looked skyward with a flicker of hope, a stark contrast to the despair on their faces moments ago. Had they called for help? If so, who had answered? And what did their arrival portend for Xar'Thalian? The Xar'Thalian warriors, their confidence shaken, watched helplessly as the colossal human vessel descended upon their position. It dwarfed their own warships, its sleek, metallic hull shimmering with an ominous glow. Kai Araz, the pain in his arm forgotten in the face of this new threat, bellowed orders. Shields were raised, biocannons powered up, but he knew, with a sickening certainty, it wouldn't be enough. The human vessel unleashed a barrage of energy, beams of blinding light lancing down from its underbelly. Xar'Thalian shields flared momentarily before collapsing under the sheer intensity of the attack. The first Xar'Thalian cruiser, caught directly in the initial blast, disintegrated in a brilliant fireball. Panic filled the once confident Xar'Thalian ranks. Retreat was the only option, but escape proved impossible. The human vessel, with terrifying agility, maneuvered around the remaining Xar'Thalian ships, its beams ripping through their hulls with surgical precision. Within minutes, the sky was littered with burning wreckage. Raz watched in numb horror as his comrades were obliterated. Fear, an emotion he had never experienced before, gnawed at him. These humans, these insignificant creatures, were not weak. They were a slumbering giant, stirred from its slumber by the Xar'Thalian arrogance. The human vessel, its task complete, hovered silently above the ruined outpost. A hatch on its underbelly opened, and a swarm of smaller craft, sleek and agile, emerged. These fighters, nimble and deadly, danced around the remaining Xar'Thalian ships, peppering them with energy bolts. One such fighter weaved through the debris field, its pilot honing in on Raz's command vessel. He felt a searing pain as his own ship shuddered under the relentless assault. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and Xylo, his bioluminescent form flashing erratically, reported critical damage to life support systems. With a deep breath, Raz knew further resistance was futile. He ordered the remaining Xar'Thalian warriors to abandon ship. He himself, unable to leave his post, braced himself for the end. The human fighter buzzed closer, and through his viewport, Raz saw a face staring back at him. A human clad in a sleek, metallic suit, his expression unreadable. There was no fear, no hatred, just a cold, calculating determination. Then, darkness. Raz awoke to the sterile white walls of a medical bay. He was strapped to a table, wires snaking into his carapace. Around him, other Xar'Thalian warriors lay unconscious, their bodies littered with injuries. Days turned into weeks. The Xar'Thalians were meticulously studied, poked, and prodded by the humans. No attempt at communication was made, only a chilling silence. Finally, Raz was brought before a group of humans. They wore simple black uniforms, their faces grim. Sergeant Raz, a human with a silver streak in his hair, spoke, his voice devoid of emotion. "We understand you were in command of the Xar'Thalian forces that attacked Kepler 186F. "We did nothing wrong," Raz rumbled, despite the weakness that still coursed through him. "You were a primitive species." The human cut him off. "Primitive," he gestured towards a screen displaying images of the obliterated Xar'Thalian fleet, the devastation on Kepler 186F. "You call this primitive?" Raz fell silent. The truth, stark and undeniable, slammed into him. They had underestimated humanity at their own peril. The human continued. "We have decided to send a message to the entire galaxy. This gesturing at the images on the screen is what happens when you attack humanity." A chilling realization dawned on Raz. They weren't just prisoners, they were trophies, living testaments to humanity's wrath. "2 of your ships will be allowed to return to Xar'Thal," the human continued. "One to carry a warning, the other to carry the survivors. Choose wisely." Raz looked at the faces of his fellow warriors, their pride shattered, their arrogance replaced by a profound fear. He knew, with a heavy heart, what he had to do. He had underestimated humanity. Now, he would ensure Xar'Thal never made the same mistake. The sole remaining Xar'Thalian warship, a crippled husk of its former glory, crawled towards Xar'Thal Prime. Raz, his carapace a map of scars etched by human weaponry, gripped the command console, his once vibrant blue bioluminescent markings now flickering with a sickly amber glow. Fear, a chilling sensation he'd only recently learned the name of, gnawed at him. News of their humiliation had reached Xar'Thal weeks ago, broadcasted with brutal efficiency by the humans. Images of their shattered fleet and the smoldering ruins of Kepler 186F were a constant, haunting reminder of their folly. As they neared their homeworld, a sickening dread settled in Raz's gut. The usual vibrant pulse of Xar'Thal Prime, a beacon of their advanced technology, was eerily silent. No welcoming hum, no reassuring glow emanated from the planet. Only the cold, uncaring silence of space. Raz activated the ship's scanners, his heart plummeting into his abdomen as the display flickered to life. Xar'Thal Prime wasn't a vibrant jewel anymore. It was a lifeless husk, a cracked and blackened sphere devoid of any sign of civilization. The humans hadn't just defeated them, they had utterly annihilated their world. A strangled cry escaped Xylazar's throat, his metallic frame trembling with a mixture of grief and rage. The other survivors, their bioluminescence extinguished, remained silent, faces blank with shock. They had returned to find nothing but a tomb, a monument to their arrogance, and a terrifying testament to the wrath of humanity. The silence stretched, broken only by the rasp of their failing life support systems. Xar'Thalian felt a cold, metallic taste flood his mouth. Despair, a sensation unlike anything he had ever experienced, threatened to consume him. Suddenly, a human transmission crackled through the speakers, Captain Jackson's voice devoid of any emotion. Sergeant Xar'Thalian echoed in the sterile chamber, "You are entering Xar'Thalian airspace. We recommend immediate surrender. Resistance is futile." Xar'Thalian let out a humorless chuckle. Surrender didn't even matter anymore. They were already defeated, their entire civilization reduced to dust in the vastness of space. "Captain Jackson," he rasped, his voice heavy with a crushing hopelessness. "There's nothing left to surrender." The silence that followed stretched on, a chilling confirmation of their fate. They had underestimated humanity. Now, they faced the bleak reality of their folly. As the human vessel descended, its hull reflecting the cold, lifeless light of their shattered world, Xar'Thalian knew this wasn't just defeat. It was an extinction-level lesson, a horrifying reminder that messing with humanity came at a cost far beyond anyone could imagine.